Based on Tracks Momentum. I'm your host, Anil, on the mic. Now, in today's exclusive interview segment, we have a distinguished guest on the phone lines. He's none other than Professor Dr. Azmi Hassan. He's a senior fellow at the Nusantara Academy for Strategic Research, and he brings along a wealth of knowledge in political science and geostrategy to talk to us in detail and share his opinions and his reactions on the new Madani government cabinet lineup. So without further ado, let's welcome him into the show. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning, Anil.
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Anil. Thank you.
All right, you're most welcome. All right, Professor, so without further ado, we'll jump in straight to our very interesting discussion today, which I feel the people would be very interested to get some insights on. Our Prime Minister, Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim's cabinet held a special press conference, as we all know it, which was to announce the cabinet reshuffle. That was on Tuesday. What was your instant reaction to that announcement, Prof?
One thing for sure, I know I'm quite happy and quite surprised too, because my expectation is that the MP of Siti Wangsa, Dato Johari Abdul Ghani, will be going into the Ministry of Finance. But again, the second minister for Finance, Dato Amir Hamzah, I think that's a good choice by Dato Sri Anwar. Why good choice is that Dato Amir is a technocrat, he's a professional, and the more important thing is that Anil, he is not affiliated to any political party. And as you know, any decision on our fiscal policy must be based on the priority, what the nation needs, what the people need, what not the political party needs. So I guess that is a good surprise for me in terms of appointment in the Ministry of Finance, I know.
Okay. Now, for the benefit of our listeners, Professor, could you tell us more and shed some light and break it down on about the reshuffle and also the various ministries that have been affected with this?
Yeah, I know. There has been a lot of complaint that two new ministries have been created. One ministry from NREEC has been created into two different ministries, and another is the Communication and Digital two ministry. Let's go first, one ministry headed by Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof, which is our Deputy Prime Minister. It's about usage of energy, transition of energy. I think the Prime Minister is going big. He wants to encourage Malaysians and Malaysia to use smart energy, or more specifically renewable energy, whether from the wind power or the sun power. I think we need a ministry that are focused on this particular issue, using the renewable energy. Okay, that's one ministry created. And another ministry created, headed by YB Gobind Singh Dio, is that Ministry of Digital. Maybe I'm wondering why we need another ministry. Communication and digital, isn't it enough? No, I don't think so that enough, because we are going big also on digital economy, Anil.
Right.
At the current stage, digital economy sector contribute around 22% to 23% to our GDP. Okay. I think that's not enough, because the future is digital economy. Because Prime Minister said by 2025, at least 25% of the digital economy sector contributed to the GDP. So we need at least one minister to concentrate on this particular issue, our transition from the current economy to the digital economy. So for me, I guess there is an addition of one minister only, that is Gobind Singh, because Datuk Fadilah is only a deputy Prime Minister, so no extra, I would say, baggage there. So in this case, digital economy, we are going big. So I say it again, we need a minister not only capable of bringing Malaysia into digital economy, but to concentrate on this particular sector.
Prof, I like the fact that you emphasized on our Prime Minister's focus on, alternative energy, which is in line with the NETR, the New Energy Transition Roadmap as well. We're focusing on alternative energies and various other resources, especially solar, electric, and so on.
Yeah.
Now, in your opinion, Professor, what do you think was the reason behind the cabinet reshuffle? And do you think it was done at the right time? Is it a timely move by our PM?
Yes, I think it's the perfect time. Because for the past year, I think the Prime Minister gauged the performance of each minister, of each ministry. But the more important thing, Anil, is that the stability is there. Meaning that the support that Datuk Sri Anwar got from the government is solid, But more importantly, there are MPs from the opposition side, the other side, that throw their support towards Prime Minister. And if we go back 1 year before this, when the formation of the government, the cabinet, Datuk Seri Anwar is trying to fulfill each priority for each party that supported him at that particular time.
Right.
Because he needs the support. And we have to remember there are 19 different entities that are supporting Datuk Seri Anwar. So he has to be very careful to shuffle the portfolios, the minister, the deputy minister. That was 1 year ago. But right now, the support is very stable. So I think that's the reason. A lot of shuffling portfolios is being done, even though there's only one minister being dropped. But again, the shuffling of new ministers, I think that's where Datuk Seri Anwar has the stability, because he has the mandate from the government, and also the mandate especially from the 5 opposition member of parliament.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving us your very in-depth explanation on your opinion behind the reason of this cabinet reshuffle, and also sharing your thoughts on whether it's done at the right time or not. Professor, we'll go in for a very quick break, and when we come back, we shall resume with our discussion. Yeah?
Okay.
All right, thank you very much for everyone else who's tuning in. I'm now speaking to Professor Dr. Azmi Hassan, a senior fellow at Nusantara Academy for Strategic Research. And today, Professor Dr. Azmi is speaking to us on the new Madani government cabinet lineup. When we come back, we shall resume with the discussion. Keep it right here on Face to Face at Trax Momentum. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to this very engaging conversation that I'm having here on today's edition of Face to Face on Trax Momentum with my special guest on the phone lines, Professor Dr. Azmi Hassan. He's the Senior Fellow at Nusantara Academy for Strategic Research, and Professor is actually speaking to us on the new Madani government cabinet lineup. Professor, welcome back to Face to Face.
Yeah, thank you, Anil.
All right, Professor, so now on Tuesday, which was December the 12th, a couple of days ago, after our Prime Minister, made the official announcement on the cabinet reshuffle. 5 new ministers have been appointed to Prime Minister's cabinet, and of which the cabinet, which had about 28 ministers previously, it's now been expanded to 31, with 2 ministerial portfolios split, as what you mentioned, and the appointment of a second finance minister. Now, with this announcement, Professor, does this come as a surprise to you?
Well, in a way, yes, Anil. Not the creation of the new ministry, but the changing of portfolio. 3 senior member of parliament from UMNO. I'm trying to figure out the reason behind that. Because the ministry involves the defense, the foreign ministry, and also the higher education. All 3 ministries are important ministries. Because there are rumors, Anil, there are rumors that the movement of Tok Mat Hassan, Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan from defense to foreign ministry,
yes.
Yeah, is to curtail his political career. No, I don't think so. Because basically moving from defense to foreign ministry, I guess, is going upward. It's elevation. Because we have a lot of issues, international issues, that need to be handled. So I guess, but again, I'm trying to figure out why the changing of portfolio. But again, Anil, the creation or the recreation or the re-establishment of the Ministry for Federal Territory, I'm quite happy for that, Anil. Why is that? Is because Federal Territory, Kuala Lumpur, for example, and also Labuan, is considered a high income state, together with Penang, together with Sarawak. So I guess, and Federal Territory of Kuala Lumpur is one of the, I would say, giving to our GDP is a lot. I think just behind Selangor and also Penang, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So for these 3 federal territory plus Putrajaya, I think we need a minister in charge of it, because especially Kuala Lumpur, the contribution to the nation is quite critical. So in that case, I guess the recreation again, the Ministry of Federal Territory, I think is good. So it doesn't matter. We have another minister for it, but again, Zaliha is a former minister for health. I guess there is no new addition of a minister in this case, Anil.
And Professor, just to enhance the understanding of our listeners on, how will this change actually impact our nation, the state of the nation? Which aspect of the country you think will be affected, or rather will be enhanced, I guess, with this reshuffle? What are your thoughts, Professor?
Yes, Anil, let's speak our fiscal policy. Because I'm expecting that we have 2 deputy minister with Datuk Seri Anwar as the minister. But again, as we know, there is a creation of Minister of Finance number 2. What this will happen starting from yesterday, I guess, or in the coming weeks or months, is that anything that got to do with fiscal policy, the second minister will take charge. Because Datuk Seri Anwar, as a prime minister, he needs to take charge of all of other things, global things, economic things. But for fiscal policy, I guess, Datuk Seri Amir Hamzah, our second finance minister, as we mentioned just now, is a technocrat, is a professional, non-affiliated to political party. Similarly, I would say Zafro, I think, but not. But Zafro is part of UMNO. But again, Datuk Seri Amir is non-affiliated. As far as I concerned, does not belong to any other political party. So I guess Datuk Seri Amir, as the Minister of Finance number 2, will be in the front seat when talking about fiscal policy, when talking about finance, when talking about our budget. So I think that's the change that we'll see in a very drastic manner, Anil.
So very strategic delegation of responsibilities done there by a Prime Minister, yeah, Prof?
Yes, I think it's not fair for Prime Minister to handle the finance issue, because he has a lot of other things to do.
Right. Other pressing matters as well in the
correct.
country.
I think that's a good move by the Prime Minister.
Okay. Now let's talk about the economy, Professor. Of course, every time a new announcement is made concerning the nation, it has to relate to the layman out there, the rakyat, because that's what we are all working for, right? That's what our ministers are all working for. Now, I want you to give us a very comprehensive perspective on how do you think that this reshuffle will impact the economy of the nation?
Yeah, I'm really hoping this the new lineup of cabinet have the same track as the Prime Minister. Because the Prime Minister said it many times. Let's say he used an example of our GDP.
Right.
And the Prime Minister said it makes no sense for our GDP to be in the positive side, 7-8% of our GDP, but it does not translate to the layman.
Yeah.
The layman will ask. We will ask. Yes, our GDP will be 7-8%. What do we get from that?
Yes.
I think that's what the minister. I think they have to go down, talking to the layman's language for me and other laymen to understand. Yes, it is positive that the GDP is very high. Our economy is stable. Our framework is very, I would say, stable. But what does it mean to the layman? I think the ministers need to explain that in a language that we understand. For example, let's say OPR. Anil.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot I've been talking about this particular OPR. So the OPR has been increased. Yes, the minister said that to stabilize our currency. But how will it benefit the people? So I guess the ministers, the new lineup, when they are talking about economy especially, they need to talk language that are easily comprehend by, so they can be understandable. The end of the day is that what is the rakyat can get from this particular issue. I think that's very, very important.
I'm just going to go and pick your brain a little bit, Professor, with your expert knowledge, and of course being a, you must have been a lecturer yourself, an educator. You would have shared a lot of your knowledge and insights for the common person out there. Just so that we can just, condense the word GDP in then maybe a couple of sentences. Can you simplify that term, and why should we as the rakyat be concerned about the GDP? Because every time ministers speak, like you mentioned, OPR, fiscal policy, lots of financial terms are thrown into the conversation, but, perhaps sometimes we don't really know if the other person understands what is being mentioned, Professor. So to be fair to them, maybe just on that GDP, since it's often used, give us a perspective, condense it, and just a very simple explanation to that, Professor.
Yeah, good one, Anil. Because when I say GDP, I'm thinking that everybody understood. Yeah, we know what gross domestic product GDP stands for. But again, in the most simplest manner, it is that the difference, the value that we import and we export. So if we have a GDP growth is positive, meaning that we export more. That's the reason why positive GDP, the higher the percentage, the better it is, because more income for the nation, because we export more. So in this case, if more income to the nation with a positive GDP, how does the government distribute the income so that it trickles down to the people? So that's the thing that Datuk Seri Anwar has been emphasizing. Yes, you can talk about GDP, but you have to explain to the people a positive GDP, meaning good for the country, more income for the country, but how do we distribute the income? The most important thing is subsidy. I think we use a lot of this income to subsidize our subsidy. So I guess a good positive GDP, I think right now it stands around 4 to 5%. Usually before the pandemic it was 7 to 8%. I think it's good for the nation.
Right.
So Anil, if it is good for the nation, it must be good for us. But the explanation must be there. But as far as I'm concerned, the explanation is done, but it is not it's not that simple. The explanation is still very hard to understand why we need a good GDP.
Right. But I think it was good enough, Professor. You did justice there with your explanation. I think if we have you often on the show, our listeners will end up becoming very good economic analysts after tuning into Face to Face. But anyway, Professor, just to give way for another quick break, when we come back, we'll dive in a little bit into the digital economy of our country. So just bear with us for a little while. We'll jump in for a quick break. Yeah, Professor?
Okay.
All right, I'm now speaking to Professor Dr. Azmi Hassan, a senior fellow at Nusantara Academy for Strategic Research, and we're speaking about the new Madani government cabinet lineup. When we come back after the break, we will try to understand our professor's perspective on our digital economy, if the nation is moving at the right direction. Keep it right here on Face to Face at TRAXX Momentum. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Face to Face. I'm your host, Anil, on the mic, and today my guest is not in the studios, but he's joining us on the phone lines. I'm speaking to Professor Dr. Azmi Hassan. He's a senior fellow at Nusantara Academy for Strategic Research, and Professor Azmi is actually sharing his insights today on the new Madani government cabinet lineup. Professor, welcome back to the discussion.
Yes, thank you, Anil.
So, Prof, earlier on in the break, we understood in detail about, the reshuffle and the ministries that were affected. You shared your opinion on behind the cabinet reshuffle. We spoke in detail about, how this would affect the economy and so on. But now I want to dive deep into the digital economy of our country. Do you think that Malaysia, the nation, is moving in the right direction to strengthen the digital economy?
Yes, first of all, I need to clarify that I'm not an expert in economy.
Okay.
Because I never studied economy, whether for my first degree, master's, or PhD. But again, I think my expertise is GPS satellites that we use every day. That's my expertise.
Wow.
But when we're talking about an issue, we need to know everything.
Yeah.
Here and there, you need to do that. Your opinion can be encompassed of all matters. So we are talking about digital economy now, because as I said before, we are going big in digital economy. In fact, under our 12th Malaysia plan and also the Madani economy, digital economy plays a very critical part of Malaysia's economy. Whereas I said before, by 2025, the end of the 12th Malaysia plan, the digital economy sector at least will contribute at least 25% to our GDP again, meaning another extra income to our nation. So I guess digital economy will play a critical role, similar to the smart technology, similar to the renewable energy, as you mentioned before this. It will contribute to our well-being. So what we are facing right now is all about digital economy. And a few days ago, Anil, the government introduced digital identification.
Yes.
This is part of the process so that we embark into 100% digital economy. And I guess let's talk about politics a little bit, because a lot say that it's a hassle to go to the election, during election, because we have a lot of election for the last few years. So in order to do election via online, for example, we need digital economy framework there. So guess to make others happy, especially when we can perform our election duty online, but we need a framework, and the framework comes from our digital economy. So I guess we should, at the current stage, embrace digital economy. But at the initial stage, I guess, there will be problems. There will be hesitation, especially on the identification of digital identification. There will be hesitation whether the data, what happened to our personal data. But I think the government has the framework so that we can support our endeavor to the digital economy era.
Right. Just to segue a little bit, you mentioned that your expertise is actually in satellite technology. Is that right, Professor?
Yes, correct.
Right. Now, since we just touched on digital economy, let's also just segue a little bit into the digital sphere and technology. Maybe for the millennials and the young ones who are out there who are, right now in their tertiary education or completing their final years of high school, what do you think are some of the, openings, or rather the job sectors that will offer great opportunities in the field of, maybe research of space technology or satellite technology for the matter, in your opinion, Professor?
But Anil, sadly to say that our space technology or our space sector that can provide jobs is quite very, very minimum, because to embark on the space technology, it needs a lot of investment. But we are good in MRO, for example, maintenance and overhaul. In aviation, is considered as part of space technology.
Right.
So in terms of aviation, to answer your question, Anil, I guess our aviation sector is very strong. It's very stable. It can provide a very stable job in this particular case. But in my case, space technology, for example, that you use every day. For example, Google Maps and Waze, that use GPS satellite.
Okay.
But basically, to delve a little further, Anil, My PhD dissertation is about GPS satellite, but it is all about smart bombs. That is really my expertise, Anil. Okay. No, I'm not
Professor,
joking. I'm not joking.
Yes,
I'm not joking.
really. I'm sure that last word that you mentioned would have put a smile, maybe a laugh, less like how it did for me, for our listeners as well, because it's a pretty interesting area of study. Maybe we can have another episode on that on another
Sure.
time, Professor. But before I let you go, any parting words, Prof, that you wish to share for our listeners before we let you go?
Yeah, I'm hoping that the new lineup of the cabinet can do their work starting from today or yesterday. But more importantly is that whatever the decision or the policies of the government, just disseminate it in an easy manner that people like me can understand. I'm not an economist. True, I'm the GPS satellite expert, but to understand economic terms is very difficult. So I'm begging the ministers, when talking to the layman, talk so that we can understand what the cabinet is doing up there, Anil.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Dr. Azmi Hassan, for joining us today on Face to Face. Your expert analysis and your thoughts have been very insightful in helping us understand the new Madani cabinet reshuffle. You have a good day ahead, Professor. Take care.
Okay, you too, Anil.
Bye-bye. All right, and to all of our listeners, we sincerely appreciate your time that you've set aside by tuning in to this edition of Face to Face. And also for everyone else, for the benefit of our listeners, apologies for not highlighting this earlier on. We can actually now, from henceforth, be seen live via our official YouTube page, the TRAXXfm official YouTube page. So all streams for our interviews will be on our Facebook page, our YouTube page, that is. So you can catch the interview there in case you missed out on this edition of Face to Face. All right. Coming up in less than 12 minutes, we'll be heading over to the RTM News Center for the 12 o'clock news updates with the classy Peter the Rock Carlos. And then after that, I'll be back for another brand new hour of Tracks Momentum. Keep it right here.